I can't remember who told me, but somebody told me something.
I'll call this regular meeting of the Lafayette Parish School Board to order. Please stand and for the presentation of the colors by the Acadiana High School Air Force ROTC. Dr. Aguilar, do you have any opening comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Members of the board, I'd like to update you on the status of our 2 new elementary schools set to open in August. We made our most recent site visit to BO Elementary School on Monday. The relatively dry weather over the past several weeks has allowed the contractors to increase the rate of work on the building. Just as a point of reference, they have recorded about 60 days of rain delay in the construction of that building. The good news is that additional crews are on site and the contractors are working 6 and 7 days per week. In particular, additional bricklaying crews are making significant progress on the exterior of the building. By Friday, windows will be installed on all of the classroom windows and allow us to air condition that portion of the building. The benefit of that is the air conditioning will be in place. The contractors will be able to go in and begin doing the drywall and the tile installation. The architects and contractors are meeting with our staff and closely monitoring the timeline necessary to have the school ready for students this fall. We also visited our new Barranco Elementary School and have several projects in the works for those students. Maintenance is refinishing the floors in the main building, checking and upgrading the lighting as necessary, repainting classrooms, hallways, and doors. The grounds crew is in the process of replacing the fencing on the campus, removing some of the overgrown shrubbery. New lettering for the school's signs have been ordered. Both principals of Barranco and BO have been working very closely with the staff regarding purchasing of classroom and office and technology as needed for those students. So as you are undoubtedly aware, tonight we have the special honor of recognizing our Students of the Year. So without further ado, I'd like to move on to that.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. And for those in the audience who missed your morning announcements this morning, we have a presentation of the morning announcements from LEO Judice Elementary School. Mr. Latchley.
I'm going to read a little something here sent to me by Ms. Labarak, the librarian at LEO Judice, on my very fancy slide phone, so bear with me. LEO Judice recently started a video announcement program for their morning announcements. 5th grade library workers applied for the video announcer positions and record each afternoon the Pledge of Allegiance, information about Leader and Me, lunch and breakfast. Items as well as AR information are shared with the student body. One student is in charge of recording the video and uploading the video into Google Drive so teachers can share with their students each morning. Just as an FYI, she lets us know that many schools do their announcements in this format. And LEO Student of the Year, Jace Babineau, who's here tonight, is the young man you're going to see on an example of what LEO Judice does for their morning announcements. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and play. That's Jace with the glasses right there in the blue shirt.
Good morning, boys and girls, faculty and staff. My name is Jace Babineau, and I would like to introduce Isaiah Stevens in Miss Welch's class. He will be leading us in the pledge. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the mission statement. All members of LEO Judice are lifelong learners and shall get every opportunity. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Isaiah. This month we are learning about Habit 4, Think Win-Win. When we are thinking win-win, we look for solutions to our conflicts with others. We realize that no one is wrong and we all are right. We try our best to understand where the other person is coming from and learn to compromise. Can you practice compromising this week in school and at home? Now I will share the menu items with you. Today's lunch is spaghetti, meat sauce, green beans, spinach salad, garlic bread, mandarin oranges, and a milk choice. Tomorrow's breakfast is maple waffles, cereal, chilled peaches, juice, and a milk choice. All of our birthday friends, please come up to the office at this time. Our LEO expectations. LEO students must be safe, responsible, and respectful. Boys and girls, faculty, and staff, let's make it a great day.
Well, Well, many thanks to Mr. Babineau for that presentation. Next up, we'll have Students of the Year recognition. Mr. Craig and Ms. Aloisio.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Craig and Ms. Truscott will both be assisting me with the presentations. Hold on, guys. They get certificates. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we have the pleasure to recognize our Students of the Year for each of our 44 schools. I'd like to first take a second to recognize the parents. If you're a parent of one of the winners and you're here tonight to celebrate with your child, please stand so we can recognize you. Okay, I'm the lucky one because I had the pleasure to meet each and every one of your children, and I want to just go on record saying they're great kids. We have some great kids in our district, and your child or your children represent the finest in our district. So thank you so much for sending them to us. We do appreciate it. We're going to start off with our elementary. Each student will start off with our elementary Students of the Year. Okay, our first student is from 5th grade, Acadian Middle, Leland Andrus. From LJ Alamar Middle, Julia Valdetero. Gemma Skipper is not here from Alice Boucher, but I do want to recognize his name. Next will be Brooke Scheck-Snyder from Broussard Middle. Kylie Wright from Charles Burke and Ariel Allen from Carencro Heights are not here this evening. I just want to announce their names also. Our next student, Mariana Archangel from Dusar Elementary. Titus Stelly from Evangeline is not present this evening. Our next student is from Ernest Gallette Elementary, Sarah Johnson. J. Wallace James, Cole Delcell. J. W. Falk, Mia Aguera. Jace Babineau, Elio Judice. That's our movie star. Morgan Hunter, Live Oak Elementary. Sprague Abear, Edgar Martin Elementary. What? Carson Mathis from Milton Elementary. Gerardo Delgado, S.J. Montgomery Elementary. Emma Freeman, Myrtle Place Elementary. Carly Kirsch from Austin is not able to be here this evening. Marlene Hernandez, Corporal Middlebrook Elementary. Maggie Kraft, Prairie Elementary. Brooklyn Fevershon, Ridge Elementary. Ronald Lobo from Scott Middle. And last but not least, our last fifth grader, Ansley England from Youngsville Middle. Okay, moving right along, we'll go to... We'll start with our middle schools. Sully Reshort from Acadia Middle is not here this evening. We'll start off with Alexia Rivas from L.J. Alomar. Sadhu Kanada from Paulboro Middle. Brooklyn Money from Broussard Middle. Leah Mouton, Carencro Middle. Cheyenne Quintanilla from Judice Middle is not present this evening. Next we have Brandon Argula from Lafayette Middle. Next, Amelia Kyle from Edgar Martin Middle. She didn't have that when she came the first time. Grayson Saunier from Milton Middle. Angelina Jones from Scott Middle. Benjamin Kruger from David Thibodeau STEM Academy. And last but not least in our middle school category is Allison Moore from Youngsville Middle. I don't know. She doesn't have one. They're fifth graders. They're not at their school. Yes. You scared me there for a minute. We have 6 elementary. I know. Our high school students of the year. First off, Kaylin Moore from Acadiana High School. Mauricio Silva from Carencro is not present this evening. Our next student is Emily Laney from Como High School. Brandon Boudreau from Early College Academy. Abigail Reeves from Lafayette High School. Demonte Miller from Northside High School. And last but not least, David Tiemann from David Thibodeau STEM Academy. So it goes without saying that all of these students are winners. To better understand our process, just so you guys know that each one of these students had to turn in a portfolio which gave us information with regard to their grades, their test scores, awards, how they volunteered in the community. Then they had to do a writing prompt and also interview in front of some judges that we had here. And these kids, from all of these students, we had to pick the top student from each category. And so now I'd like to introduce our finalists that are actually, some have competed and some are getting ready to compete at the regional level. So we want to wish them luck. Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Look. We're going to first start off with our elementary. Our elementary student of the year comes from Ernest Gallette Elementary School, Sarah Johnson. Our middle school finalist for Student of the Year is Allison Moore from Youngsville Middle. And last but not least, our high school finalist is Landon Boudreaux from Early College Academy. I want to tell y'all, I told these students when they came through the writing prompt, because I was the one that sat with them while they were doing the writing, I told them they're all winners. So you just guys have to be so proud of your student. We're all so excited for having them here this evening. Thank you so very much for allowing them to come to our schools and show you what they really have and what we have to offer them. So thank you so much and have a great evening.
We will take a 5-minute recess and allow everyone ample time to exit the room.
Might as well go straight into it.
I take that back.
Mr. President,
Mr. Latchley. Mr. Latchley, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion to go into executive session from Ms. Morris. Wait, hold on. Don't you need to read the case number at least?
I move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation in the matter of Sama Zidon versus LPSB, docket number 2015-4211, and also Catherine Walker versus ACE, LPSB, and Hope Key, docket number 2017-4533. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Morris, second by Mr. Angel, to go into executive session. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Do we have a president?
Well, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Make a motion, we go back into regular session?
Let's go.
Already did.
Got to go.
I make a motion, we go back into regular session. So I'm already a motion on the floor.
I have a motion by Mr. Lachelet and a second by Mr. Angel to go back into regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept council's recommendation in the matter of Sama Zedin versus LPSB, Ace and Donna Laverne, docket number 2015-4211, as well as Catherine Walker, succession of versus Ace, LPSB, and Hope Key, docket number 2017-4533.
We have a motion to accept council's recommendation by Mr. Knezik. Second by Mr. Angel. Do we have any public comment on the motion on the floor? Do we have any board member comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Eight for, one against.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Human Resources Personnel Changes for February 2019. Ms. Thibodeau, do you have any introductions?
Tonight I have the privilege of introducing the two new principals of the new elementary schools. The first one is for BO Elementary School, Christy Hayes. Ms. Hayes received a Bachelor of Arts degree and a Master of Education degree from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Ms. Hayes has served as a teacher at La Rosen Elementary School and at Live Oak Elementary School. She has served as an instructional services support teacher for the district, instructional strategist at Woodville Elementary School, and most recently as an assistant principal at Woodville Elementary School. Ms. Hayes is a member of the UL Education Department CAPE Committee. This is the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparedness. Congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you so much. I want to say first thank you to Dr. Aguilar's staff and the board for this opportunity. When I heard that they were building this big new house in Broussard, I could not even think that I could not apply for it. To build my own culture, hire a staff, fill it with kids, and create a school that is my vision, that is a safe environment for kids to soar, to learn, and be loved every day, and go home and feel safe wanting to come back to school the next day. So this is a huge opportunity, and not many people get this opportunity. So
yay for me. I'm excited, and I'm up for the challenge. I really am. And of course, I could not have done it without my lovely husband and my beautiful family and my Woodvale sisters and my principal, Miss Judice. And we have a couple brothers at Woodvale too, but that's what we call the people over there. It's been an amazing ride, 21 years in the district. I couldn't imagine working anywhere else. I love Lafayette Parish school system, and I'm here to make a difference at Marshall BO and create a new vision and make my mark, make a place for our kids to learn. Thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to introduce the principal of Dr. Raphael A. Barranco Elementary School, Dawn Weimer. Ms. Weimer received a bachelor's degree and a Master of Education degree from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Ms. Weimer has taught for 2 years at Our Lady of Fatima and 6 years at Falk, Alice Boucher, Myrtle Place Elementary School. She has served as the ELA Academic Content Coach, Reading Facilitator, and Instructional Strategist at Falk Elementary School. Her most recent position was the Assistant Principal at Falk Elementary School. She is also currently participating in NISL, the National Institute of School Leadership Training. Ms. Weimer was a Lafayette Education Foundation semi-finalist Teacher of the Year for 2 years at Fatima Elementary School. Congratulations, Ms. Weimer.
Good evening, Dr. Aguilar, Ms. Trosclair, Mr. Craig, board members. I just want to thank you all for this opportunity. These children at Barranco are very, very personal to me. So this is a job I take very seriously in allowing these children to shine and be brightened in this district. I also want to thank my family for their patience ahead of time because Mama's fixing to be real busy. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, and congratulations on the promotions. Ms. Thibodeau, do you have anything else? Thank you very much. Next item is Finance, the 2019-2020 budget recap and timeline. Mr. Guidry, are there any other differences besides moving the meeting from February 5th to next Tuesday?
No.
Thank you very much. As a reminder to the public and everyone involved, we will have a budget meeting next Tuesday, February 19th, to be followed immediately by a meeting regarding the pending superintendent search. We'll move on to our consent agenda. I'll read each item. Board members, if you'd like to pull an item for further consideration, please say so at that time. 5.1, Administration, Approval of Resolution 02-19-1951, National School Counselors Week. Pull it. Number 2, Update to Magnet Academy Procedures. Number 3, Administrative Rule.
Pull that, please.
Number 4, Approval of servitude for sidewalk at Milton Elementary and Middle School. Number 5, approval of intergovernmental agreement between the City of Broussard and the Lafayette Parish School Board for the installation of a drainage culvert and sewerage pump station. Number 6, approval of quotes for Milton Elementary and Middle playground equipment. Number 7, budget revision, capital improvements fund budget revision for print shop. Number 8, the budget to actual reports for January 2019. Number 9, approval of bid award portable audience chairs, bid number 54-19. Number 10, the grant fund summary for January 2019. Number 11, approval to advertise and accept proposals, printing and binding Eureka Math materials. Number 12, budget revisions to capital improvement fund and general fund. Number 13, budget revision to self-funded construction fund committed for 1920 projects. Number 14, approval to advertise and accept proposals, voice over internet protocol phone service. Number 15, BO Elementary School and Dr. Raphael A. Barranco Elementary School staffing. Number 16, general fund budget revision to cost center 1110 insurance administration. Number 17, revisions to policy DJE purchasing. Number 18, revisions to policy JR student privacy and education records. Number 19, policy IH academic achievement. Number 20, revisions to policy II testing program. I very nearly said policy 2, by the way. Revisions to policy JBDA attendance awards. Revisions to policy JBD student absences and excuses. Number 23, revisions to policy GAIB, solicitations of staff members. Number 24, summer work schedule. Number 25, approval of minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve all items not pulled.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Latchley, a second by Mr. Knezik to approve all items not pulled. Do we have any public comment on these items? Again, these are all items not pulled, so the ones that we will discuss further are items numbers 1, 3, and 22. All others, if you'd like to comment on it, this is your opportunity. Is there any board member comment?
I do have a comment or a question on 516 risk management general fund budget revision. My question is, I think for Dr. Aguilar, these off-duty police officers that are directing traffic at the various schools, are these also coordinated through the SRO program, or are these somehow separate and apart from that?
Mr. Knezik, I believe they're separate.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Aguilar, I do have a question about policy DJE purchasing. Would these revisions preclude using an RFP process for a professional services contract in the future?
No, that's covered in DJED, so it does not preclude it.
Thank you very much. Any other board member comment? Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Nine for, none against.
Motion carries. The next item will be 5.1, approval of Resolution 02-19-1951, National School Counselors Week. Mr. Latchley.
I'll pull this just so we could have a separate vote on it for our counselors. I make a motion that we approve Resolution 02-19-1951, National School Counselors Week.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Latchley, second by Ms. Morrison, that the board approve Resolution 02-19-1951, National School Counselors Week. Do we have any public comment on this motion? Do we have any board member comment?
Mr. President.
Mr. Latchley.
Do you think it would be appropriate to read the resolution at this time?
It's always appropriate to read the resolution.
Anybody with staff? Dr. Aguilar, would you like to read it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Whereas the American School Counselor Association sponsors the National School Counseling Week to focus public attention on the unique contribution of professional school counselors within all school systems and how students are different as a result of what school counselors do. Whereas National School Counseling Week highlights the tremendous impact school counselors can have in helping students achieve school success and a plan for a career. Whereas school counselors are recognized for implementing the comprehensive school counseling program, which is a vital part of the educational process for all students as they meet the challenges of the 21st century. Therefore, be it duly resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby designate the week of February 4 through 8, 2019 as National School Counseling Week.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Do we have any other board member comment? Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Nine for, none against.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 5.3, Administrative Rule. Mr. Knezik.
have a motion.
I have a motion for adoption, for approval by Mr. Angel, second by Mr. Hidalgo. Do we have any public comment on the motion on the floor? Do we have any board member comment? Mr. Knezik.
Dr. Aguilar, I just wanted to understand the intent of this. In my opinion, kind of defeats the purpose of zone modifications. It doesn't allow the board to, in the future boards, to make decisions that they need to make in order to use the resources that we have and the limited number of classrooms that we have as effectively as we can. We've seen population shifts, population growth. We've seen natural disasters. We've seen many different things throughout even our short 4+ years on this board that I think we need a little bit more flexibility when it comes to zone modifications. I believe that the original administrative rule provided that, along with all the different types of hardships and other things. So if there's some other intent behind it, if you could explain that, I'd appreciate it.
First of all, I think you're absolutely correct. We have had a significant number of people who are essentially unhappy with the previous administrative rule. And so this recommendation is coming to you knowing that if you adopt these recommended changes, in effect, it will take 2 and perhaps 3 years before the full impact of a spot rezoning would take effect. The only kids that would move would be the kids who are rising to the middle school, and of course they are provided bus transportation. The kids who are choosing to stay at the middle school in lieu of going to the next assigned school through rezoning would, with family transportation, be allowed to remain at that school. So this really is a landmark decision, and I would suggest you think long and careful about the language here. It is certainly more flexible than the previous language, but it does in fact diminish the impact of spot rezoning in terms of immediate impact on staffing and student population.
Just to reiterate what I said before, it confirms. I just think you know, we need all the tools in our toolbox as a board. It's difficult for us to choose to rezone anybody. It's difficult whether it's a major rezone or even a spot rezone. It's very difficult. We all get complaints, but we are here because we have to make very tough decisions. We have to upset people. That's part of our job. We can't keep everybody happy. I think this is honestly, it's a cop-out. I think it's hey, we're going to rezone you, but we're not going to rezone you. We're going to rezone the people that aren't complaining today because they're not going to complain for 3 or 4 years. In my opinion, it's a cop-out. It's weak. It shows weakness, and I don't agree with it. So I'm going to vote against it. I urge you to do the same.
Thank you, Mr. Knezik. Do we have any other board member comment? Mr. Hidalgo?
Thank you. Mr. Craig, I appreciate your attention to this after the last board meeting we had and coming up with a solution to a problem that many parents brought forth in the many town hall meetings that I held regarding rezoning. So as we know, we have a lot of folks being impacted with the opening of the new school and the conversations about Southside and the situation at Youngsville Middle, moving 5th graders and trying to create some space there. Fundamentally, I agree with Mr. Knezik's perspective here. However, I asked you to come back with a recommendation that made sense, and I believe what makes this recommendation make sense is many things, but 2 main things. Number one, evidently the siblings staying behind when we do a spot rezone were nearly, I'm going to stretch it and say nearly the same amount of impact that allowing a student who started on a campus to stay there will have. And so I'm sure you factored that in because, you know, what I heard from parents was that we understand change has to take place, and we don't want it, of course. However, if our student started there and not only has built a relationship with their teachers and other students, but you know, we've put time and money into these schools, we want them to at least be able to finish. So what we've done here, I'm going to use this word, we've sacrificed the opportunity for the sibling in order to allow the student who is there already you know, not somebody that might be coming up behind them. And I know that that's few and far between, but it happens. It happens every year to stay there. And I think what else helps this to make sense is that, sure, if we were doing what previous boards did and we looked at rezoning every 30 years, then this type of a plan really doesn't work. But if we are going to look at rezoning, spot rezoning every 3 to 5 years, then we're always going to be on top of it. We're not going to see schools busting at the seams, per se, as we did when we did the last major rezone. I think that out of the 9 of us up here, I probably have, as a school board representative, been more affected by the rezoning than anyone else, just because of, you know, not only did we have a spot rezone in District 9, the first one in many, many years, but then we had the major rezone, and then now we're dealing with it again with the opening of the new school. So this is in response to legitimate concerns from parents, not just those hollering and screaming not to move, because, you know, we heard that last time, but we still had to make the tough decision. This is, let's find a way to not to impact the students who have already started on a campus as least as possible. And looking at all the schools in District 9 who probably would be more affected by this overall, generally, than the rest of the district, I can say that with the exception of Youngsville Middle, this plan would work, and we're fixing the Youngsville Middle issue by moving 5th grade. So I think we've solved every problem, and if we stay on top of it moving forward, this administrative rule will actually be a positive thing for the district.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo. Dr. Chasson?
What's the excuse me? What's the main difference?
The kind of comes down to as once you're at a school, a middle or a high school, and we change the zone, as long as your enrollment at that school continues, you can finish at your originally zoned school.
Okay, so freshmen would be able to remain?
Yes, sir. So if like on the old administrative rule, if you're talking about high school, you had a brother that was going to be a senior, but you were going to be you were currently a freshman, you were going to be a sophomore. Well, you could only stay 1 year. On the old rule. This rule says if you started out in 2018-19 as a freshman at Lafayette High and we rezoned, you can finish at Lafayette High the next 3 years if you provide your own transportation. You're welcome to go to the new school. We'll provide zone transportation for you, but you can elect to stay at your school that you started at. Okay. So for middle and high school, it kind of does away with the sibling rule, because if you're there, you can finish. Now, if you're a sophomore at Northside and you have an 8th grade sister that's going to be going to Northside, that 8th grader would be required to go to the new school. But if you're enrolled at the school, you can stay in the current year and you're rezoned next year, you can stay.
Okay. When did we first start? I remember the very first one, but I don't remember the exact time frame. When was the first time we decided on the administrative rule?
2015, I believe.
2015.
15, 16.
So there have been kids that have been affected already that were freshmen that couldn't remain there as a sophomore.
Yes, sir.
In 2015,
in theory, they could only stay 1 year and then would have to go to their new school.
So upwards of 3 years or 2 years or even 1 year ago, kids were affected. They had to go to the new school. Yes. Now this would change it.
As long as you started at that school in the current year, you can finish.
Okay. Does that then reverse what's occurred for those kids that were affected?
Well, potentially.
So if a kid was a freshman and,
so at the high school
had
level,
to leave, would that kid now, based upon this, would that kid now be able to apply for like a hardship and say, well,
that's absolutely always due process.
High.
You can always apply through a hardship for child welfare and attendance. What it does, I guess, in regards to what Mr. Kinezik's saying, is that when we rezone for the high schools, it's going to take potentially 3 years to equalize our enrollments in the new zone, and at the middle school, it's going to take 2 years to equalize the new enrollments.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you, Dr. Chasson. Do we have any other board member comment? Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
3 for, 6 against.
Motion fails. The next item on the agenda, 5.22, risk management, revisions to policy JBD, student absences and excuses. Dr. Chasson.
Quick question for anybody that would be able to help me.
Point of order, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Approve what?
Trying to find it now.
It's JBD.
Motion to approve revisions to policy JBD with the addition of including parental excuses.
We have a motion to approve the proposed revisions to policy JBD, student absences and excuses, with the addition of including parental excuses.
I'll second.
Motion by Dr. Chasson, second by Mr. Knezik. Do we have any public comment on the motion on the floor? Do we have any board member comment? Dr. Chasson, I would actually like for you to clarify where you want to put parental excuses.
So really quickly, my first question is, I see we struck out including a parental note, but I want to be sure I understand, because later in the written excuses, it allows for a written note from the parent under written excuses, that the student shall be required in each instance to submit parental confirmation of the reason for the absence. So are written excuses now being taken out, or they're not? That was the clarification I wanted, because there's an age-old issue for me when it comes to, I see kids show up to my pharmacy who are, I mean, not say deathly sick, but they're sick, they're ill, have headaches, throwing up, vomit, and whatnot. So that kid is not going to school, but that individual kid is being taken care of by me and the parent, who is, oh, he has a bad headache, a bad stomach ache. That kid doesn't necessarily always go to the doctor for a doctor's excuse. So is it being taken out or not? And that would be my only question or issue with what we have. So I'll make sure to clean up the language of the motion. I just needed to toss something out there so I can get the question asked. And also, if someone has a separate question, I guess I do have a second one. Well,
Dr. Chasson, I believe if the answer is yes, they are allowed, then you will just have the motion as written on the agenda item. If no, they are not allowed, then your motion would be to remove the strike through in section A, page 1.
Yes, sir.
Would be your motion.
Correct. And then as well, a second follow-up question to figure out exactly when, or, excuse me, if a kid can or can't make up work, because there's language in here that's a little confusing as far as if a kid misses, whether it's excused or unexcused, if the kid is allowed to make up work for the full credit. Because there's A, B, C, D, and each one is non-exempted, one is exempted excused, one is unexcused absences, one is suspensions, and only one of them has strange language that speaks to the tune, I think, that based upon if we accept the excuse or not, if the kid is allowed to make up work for full credit. Because I thought we had hashed that out a long time ago as far as credit, not getting credit. So it used to be 50%, like we really went at this at a point in time. So is this bringing it back or not? Because that was part of like the pupil progression plan.
Do you guys need a little time for a more complete answer to make sure we get this right?
I was going to suggest pulling this item.
Okay. Would you like to remove your motion?
I'll remove the motion.
Ms. Morris, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll start with my easy question first. There's a strike through the language minors engaged in artistic and creative services. Is that being picked up in another policy somewhere? That's for child performers that are missing school for various performance reasons. There's a statute that addresses it, so I think we need a policy on it.
I'll tell you why. So that was stricken when it came to us. I'll tell you why I believe it was stricken, because this list of extenuating circumstances comes straight out of Bulletin 741. I mean, word for word, and that is not in there. That would be my appreciation for probably why it was taken out.
There is a statute or it's somewhere else in the regulations that address when students have to miss school because of some performance related. For example, in the past, we've had a student participate on American Idol. So that's a performance. Sometimes they are selected to play a role in some movie filming in New Orleans, and they miss, I think, Mr. Frugier, it's like a 3-day excused absence once they fill out a certain required form. And
and they can always come to us with a request for excused absence that comes through
the
child
problem
welfare.
when it's not written in a policy is it depends on whether they get you on a good day or a bad day, whether you're going to excuse this one with you, but you're not always going to be here, Mr. Craig. So, or if they don't know to ask you and they ask someone else, so it's better to have this in writing. I think we also had a child from Lafayette High School who was a race car driver, so she participated in national race car races, so she had
and we'll get kids going overseas for family vacation, and certainly there's...
Yeah, and that's different. That's not performance.
No, but there's... but we get extenuating circumstances, which are certainly educational for a student.
But if I remember from my own research for the attorney, when you're looking at it, there's either a statute or this language is buried in some of the Board of Education regulations, but maybe not with the same extenuating circumstances. But it is there because I found it myself previously.
I think that's what a lot of this policy is. It's same thing with that parental note. I think that the section about writing written notes or written excuses, it just might not be. They might have taken out because these are non-exempted excused absences. They might not be acceptable there, but it might be the next category, whatever that means right there.
If y'all could just hash it out and just come back to us.
I think it just needs to be.
With me. So I'd like to pull that.
Okay. All right, my second set of questions.
Oh, you still have more, okay.
Yeah, and I understand that this is being pulled from the regulations, and a lot of time regulations and legislation is just ambiguous. But if you look at Section A and Section B, and I've had this discussion again with Mr. Frugier in the past because I can't understand it no matter how many times I read it. It defines non-exempted excused absence and includes that for those illnesses, you know, when a parent writes an excuse, where you're sick but you just don't take them to the doctor. Then it says, which are not considered for purposes of truancy. You see that sentence right there in A? Then when you go down to B and it defines exempted excused absences, it's absences which are not considered for purposes of truancy. So those two things, so it's saying a non-exempted excused absence is not considered for truancy, and an exempted excused absence is not considered for truancy. So which is it? They're saying the same thing, but they're being called two different things.
No, I think the difference is non-exempted excused absences. Neither of them are considered for truancy, but non-exempted excused absences appear to be ones incurred due to personal illness or serious illness in the family, right, whereas the others are, I guess, I don't know, what's a case of an exempted excused absence? Because you're not truant, so I can't say you skip school, right? Please write that down for Ms. Morris.
Yes. No, yeah, so it's ambiguous. I mean, if you're a parent or you're trying to read the policy and they're saying, well, I don't know, I mean, I'm being called in before the truancy officer, I've got all these excused absences, but they're counting those and not these. It's just ambiguous, and I think the attorney understands, because when you're looking at various things, we can sit here and rationalize what we think it means, but it should be crystal clear, and we shouldn't even have to ask the question, especially if we're subjecting parents to potential truancy charges. So those are my questions. So when you're researching it, please look at those two.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Dr. Chasson, you have something
And also
else?
in that language, I think the basis of A and B are simply to determine whether or not the kid can make up the work. And that's the problem. That's something I'd also like to, I'm probably going to make changes when it comes up, but like for A, it's which are not, which are considered when determining whether a student's eligible to make up the work, versus B, which are not considered. So B, they can make it up no matter what. A, it's up to somebody's determination, and all kids should be able to, if you're missing school, you should be able to make up the work, period. And I thought we had got past that already, so y'all could take a look at it.
And we do let them make up the work, but we need to make it clear here.
Right, and that's it. Thank y'all.
Y'all have everything you need as far as guidance? All right, the motion has been withdrawn.
That should be the end of the meeting, right?
That's the last item on the agenda. Mr. Latchley, please. Oh, before we move on, please, Mr. Angel.
I would just like to as a former teacher, I would like to agree with Timmy, and I would hope that we would make every effort to let every student be able to make up work missed. If a student can't make up a test, that could have a negative impact on that student for the rest of the year. He could fail a semester, and fail that 6 weeks. He could fail a semester and ultimately fail because he couldn't make up a test. I think that he or she should be able to make them up. I agree with you, Dr. Chisholm.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Mr. Latchley, before we leave.
Just a reminder, Saturday at David Thibodeau STEM Academy is the En Cuisine de Jardin Cook-Off. I want to drop my challenge to Mr. Elroy Broussard. I won it 2 years ago. He won it last year. Sir, my challenge to you is I will be a better dishwasher this year. Now, you do a fine job, and we wash dishes side by side, me and you, and I know you're a formidable opponent, but I do think I'm going to take it this year.
I accept the challenge, Mr. Latchley. I've got my gallon of Dawn dishwashing liquid ready.
So you showed up with a gallon?
Just gallon. We need a gallon. We want everything sparkling.
You bringing your game?
That's right.
Well, I'm going to bring some special towels and maybe a sponge, and I think we're going to have us a good time. Y'all come to David Thibodeau Saturday. I think we're required to be there at 8:30. I think doors open at 10, if I'm not mistaken. It's fun.
It is. And let me add, once a year we do this, and I'm speaking for myself. I don't know about Mr. Latchley, but that's the only time during the year that we can eat healthy.
Yes, and
yes, sir.
I know I always told people to just kind of keep it low key, but my wife has heard me say on this board floor that I wash dishes at this thing, and she's yet to enforce that rule at home, but I think it's coming.
That's an administrative rule. Really quickly, there's a secret there's a secret weapon that's used for those very special events. I happen to send my son with the special sauce, the special seasoning, and he happens to have been on Mr. Elroy Broussard's team. So there's two people washing dishes back there.
I don't want anyone to forget Elio won 3 years ago.
Okay. So I'm not second that.
So he
Just
won.
giving y'all the heads up.
In what category did they win? Dishwashing or something real?
Best dish.
There you go. Yeah. That's what
the real
that's somebody I respect. Right?
Charles Burke won it 2 years ago. We come out second 3 years ago, but me and Mr. Broussard have that dishwashing competition.
That being the last item on our agenda, this meeting is adjourned.